Hey everybody, it's Jasmine. I wanted to do an update video on what's happening in Christchurch, like what I know about it and things like that. So I've just woken up, sorry. But yeah, this is I guess giving you guys information, from what we know and everything like that. So first of all, there's one guy that has been charged with one count of murder, but that'll be updated, obviously, with the police investigation, because I guess it's just like a formality, really. Um, so, and he's going to appear back in court on the 5th of May. We don't know much about the other two people that have been arrested. There was a third person, but it was unrelated to the attack. That's what they said anyway. So there's two other people. We don't know how they're connected, but hopefully we'll find out more about that later on. The Prime Minister said that the police will have an update later on once they've done more of their investigation. So the other thing is that as it stands right now, there's 49 people dead, and there are several still in hospital. I think, let me just take a look. Because yesterday they were saying that there were 48 people in hospital, but I'm not sure if that's still the case. So I'll just check that. But there's several that are still in ICU, intensive care unit, and there are others that are, I guess, in a more stable condition. Okay, so 36 people remain in hospital, 11 are in ICU. So also the other thing that is quite significant is that there's a 3-year-old boy that is unaccounted for. The family, they haven't heard anything, they haven't, he's not on the names of people in hospital, and they haven't heard about if he's died or anything, so it's not looking good. But the sooner that they have answers, I think, would be better. And then there are, so there's children that are in hospital right now. Some children have died, and so there were 2 brothers that go to a high school in Christchurch that were in the attack. So that's obviously really sad to hear about. So then the other thing is that in Dunedin, the police, they did a search of they did a search of the house, and apparently it was related to that the car that the attacker used came from that property, and they said that the guy who was on that property was a white supremacist, but we don't know if there's been any arrests made or anything like that. Obviously you can't just arrest someone for being a racist, but I think as the investigation continues, if he's been shown to be connected, then he will be arrested. But that's just another wait and see type of thing. But it's really awful to think about people helping this person. Do you know what I mean? Ugh. So what we also know now is that the police, they stopped the attacker 36 minutes after they received a call about the attacks, and they arrested him by ramming his car off the road and then dragging him out of the vehicle. There were 2 other guns in his car, and there were improvised explosive devices attached to the car, as well as fuel, which we believe, what he said in the video was that he was going to burn the mosques down. So the fuel assumably was going to be used for that purpose, to burn the mosques down. So there were 2 mosque attacks, which I think some people haven't realized in the international media, but it wasn't just one mosque, there were 2 mosques that were attacked. So he attacked the first one, which is where the most casualties were. Then he did a 7-minute drive, they're saying, approximately 7 minutes, to get to the other mosque where he committed the second attack. And then he was rammed off the road, so he must have left the mosque. But we're not sure where he was going to go after that, what was his plans. We don't know, but there were, several people killed at the other mosque as well. So, other things relating to the lockdown of the city was that, so the attack happened about 1:20 p.m. on Friday. So when the attack was happening, and afterwards all of the area around Christchurch was locked down. People were told not to leave their houses, people weren't allowed to leave work, kids were kept in school and locked down, parents weren't allowed to pick their kids up until about 6 p.m. on the Friday. And my brother, he was in one of the office buildings that was close by to the mosque, and he couldn't leave work until about 6 p.m. And he said that, now we're going to talk a little bit about what people are saying about what it was like. But he said that he left his office block and he was walking home, and there were so many people walking because everybody had just been let out at that time. And he said, but it was so quiet. It was so many people, but it was just silent in the street because everybody's in shock and everything. So that's really eerie, and yeah, I think that gives quite a strong image. So New Zealand is basically in shock because, obviously anywhere in the world there's racism, but mostly in New Zealand, I would say you get people that are racist towards Asian people, and people that are racist towards Maori people and Pacific Island people, and you get people that I guess hate Muslims and things like that. But it doesn't really feel like there's any really radical people. I know one girl in high school whose family was really racist towards Asian people, and that was what? That was so weird to think about, and uncomfortable as well. So people, we really couldn't expect it in New Zealand. And the guy that committed this attack, he wrote in his manifesto that he specifically picked New Zealand. He's an Australian-born person, and he specifically picked New Zealand because it is a safe place, and he wants to cause as much distress and distrust as he can in the world as a whole. So it's upsetting that somebody chose, your safe place. New Zealand really is a paradise for a lot of people. So, he really chose us. So I have a friend who lived nearby the mosque when the attack started, and he heard gunshots, and he posted that on Facebook, and this was before the people knew about the attack. And he walked out of his house and he walked down the street, and then there were the armed defender squad there. And that's when he realized that it really was gunshots, because he wanted to believe that it was fireworks, because, you know, people in New Zealand, like, we don't hear gunshots, it doesn't happen here. So I think it's just so difficult to believe that what you're hearing is what you're hearing. One of the people that were in the attack, they said that they were somebody that had fled, I think it was Somalia, they said, and he said the last time that he had heard a gunshot was 8 years ago. So that just sort of reiterates that New Zealand is, you know, a safe place where you don't get gun violence like that. So right now, the main goal for everybody is the police investigation. They're going to have to do, you know, a big investigation, obviously, and also making sure that there aren't any more risks to other mosques and things like that. So the police around New Zealand are guarding mosques all around New Zealand until they know that there isn't any threat any longer. Then the other big thing that is a focus right now, which the Prime Minister talked about, is the burial rights of the victim, making sure that that along with the coroner, you know, the people that the victims are going to be treated with the respect that's appropriate with their customs. And we have specific people that are dedicated to that sort of thing, you know, respecting other people's cultures and things like that. So they've been brought in, and so hopefully there will be a good, I guess, outcome in that regards. Because obviously it's hard enough having family members die, and then it's even, you know, it can be more difficult with the burial process and I guess the media attention, because it's not a normal mourning process to have to mourn, you know, in front of everybody, I guess. Yeah, and obviously they have their own burial traditions, so the main focus is respecting that, while also carrying out, you know, the autopsies that need to be done and things like that. Yeah. So there's been lots of people are coming out and laying flowers and everything around mosques, not only in Christchurch but all around New Zealand. And it's just, it's hard to explain how upsetting it is for everyday New Zealanders, because even though they attacked people that were mostly refugees, people who fled violence to come to New Zealand, the thought that they were attacked in New Zealand is really, I mean, it's shameful. Like, you want people to, when you welcome people into your country and you say, you know, it's safe here, you want it to be safe, and to think that somebody would make that unsafe for these people that have already faced a lot of discrimination in their life is really, it's just really hard, because that's not what New Zealand is, and to think that it could be that is really scary, you know. Like, we want to get rid of that. We don't want anybody to feel like they're going to be attacked or even disrespected, because New Zealand is a huge multicultural society, and we do have racism and we do have prejudices, but I think that going forward, I feel like every time we try to do better, it doesn't feel like there's a whole big group of people that are saying, no, we don't want, other people in our country. It feels like New Zealand wants to get better and better. So then when you have this huge thing happen, it's like maybe there is a bunch of people that want to undo all that, like just think about if, because this guy, he's a white supremacist, right? So maybe there's a whole bunch of other white supremacists out there, like a huge group that are like, we want to get rid of, the Maori culture, and we want to get rid of Muslims and everything like that. And that's scary, because New Zealand has come a long way to being, a better country for everybody, and we still have a long way to go. And to think that there might be a big group of people trying to hinder that is really scary. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of the feeling around New Zealand, but also just complete shock at the huge loss of life, because it's 49 people dead. That's crazy, that's just, it's so crazy. And yeah, I just wanted to finish off by saying that I think the police did a really good job, and the media is doing a better job now at suppressing the video that the perpetrator put up online. So basically, the person who committed these attacks, he live streamed the attacks, which is just absolutely disgusting, and it's also disrespectful to the memory of those people killed for people to watch that. So the police, they have asked for people to stop sharing it, and I think it's quite difficult to get a hold of. Obviously you can still find it if you look really hard, but it's not something that's been, published on the mainstream, and I think that that's a really good improvement from, other attacks and things like that. And also, even though we have to publish their name in the newspapers in some way, I haven't seen a lot of photos or repetitions of the perpetrator's name in the media, and I think that that's really good, because it's not about him. It's about the people that have died. They're the people that matter in this situation, and he's just a piece of trash that we just want to be done with, basically. So yeah, I think, and we don't want people to copy him because he's, famous or whatever. So yeah, I think that that's good. And yeah, but that's going to be it for me right now. I just want to say that I'm really I'm just incredibly sorry for all the families that have been affected in, this attack. And that's, it's just, words can't even express how awful and scary and just unsafe New Zealand feels right now. And we hope to get back to feeling safe and stop this sort of thing from happening again. So yeah, that's going to be it for me. yeah, I hope everybody has a better day. Oh, actually, one last thing that I wanted to say was that right now there's been about $2.5 million donated to the victims of the tragedy. And I think that that's a really good job, New Zealand. That's fantastic. You know, New Zealand is a small country. We've only got about 5.5 million people. So, great job, New Zealand. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.